So today I'll be talking about Freminet, his kit, and who would potentially be the best units to pair him with. Before I start discussing this, there's something I want to say first. You enjoying these videos are enough for me, so feel free to subscribe, and thank you so much for your support. I hope to reach 1,000 subs by the end of the year. So, Freminet is an interesting character, as he seems like someone who's a shatter reaction damage dealer. However, when looking deeper into how his kit functions, you realize that his damage is actually pretty split into cryo and physical, dealing pretty equal bouts of both, while mainly using shatter as sort of an additional source of damage, while also giving him better access to his strongest hit, which is physical. Freminet's elemental skill is initial hit of cryo damage that puts him in a 10-second timer that deals different types of damage based on the level within his skill. When he reaches his final level 4, his skill will deal a final hit of more powerful physical damage. He's able to gain these stacks when the timer from his skill is active and uses normal attacks during that time. His burst is a decent help to his skill as well, allowing for easier access gaining stacks for his skill. Activating his burst will reset his cooldown upon his cast, and will enter a state for 10 seconds. While he's in this state, his interruption resistance is increased, and his skill will have a reduced cooldown by 70%, while also allowing him to generate 2 stacks per normal attack rather than the 1. His burst is pretty crucial in determining how quickly he can generate his stacks, since after the 4th level attack hits, his skill effect ends, so being able to cast quickly again with the cooldown reduction active means higher DPS output. For his first passive, the cooldown of his skill is further decreased by 1 second upon activation when he possesses less than 4 stacks from his skill. This just turns his skill into something a lot more spammable. His second passive increases the damage dealt by his skill by 40% for 5 seconds whenever Freminet triggers a shatter reaction. Again, shatter isn't the main source of damage here, but more of an assist to the actual focus of his kit. As for his Constellation, his C1 gives increased crit rate of the damage from the levels of his elemental skill by 15%. This gives more consistency to his main source of damage. C2 restores 2 energy to him when his hits from his level of his skill actually hit opponents. If he hits with the 4th level of his skill, he'll regenerate 3 energy instead. This is a great help for him to access his burst, making it easier to build artifacts, as looking for ER substats isn't really as much needed. C4 increases his attack by 9% for 6 seconds whenever Freminet triggers a frozen, shatter, or superconduct reaction. This effect has a max of 2 stacks, and a stack can be gained every 0.3 seconds this way. This is a nice increase to hit damage, and since these reactions will be the byproduct of the synergy between units that pair well with him, having this consistency definitely won't be a problem. His C6 is similar to C4. Whenever he triggers a frozen, shatter, or superconduct reaction, his crit damage is increased by 12% for 6 seconds. There's a max of 3 stacks that can be gained, and each one has a, again, cooldown of 0.3 seconds. This obviously works super well in tandem with the C1, giving cohesion in both stats of crit. When looking in artifacts, he's probably going to follow suit with Eula on using Pale Flame to increase his physical damage massively, while also giving him some extra attack. The cooldown of his skill is 10 seconds, so there might be a bit of an issue proccing the 4-piece effect, but with his burst resetting and cooldown reduction, while his first passive also does the same, this probably becomes a lot more doable. And if a 4-piece Pale Flame set is tough to get, then a 2-piece of Pale Flame alongside a 2-piece of Bloodstained Chivalry should do the trick. Most of their 2-piece effects give 25% physical damage bonus, totaling to 50. For main stats, you want to look for attack on the timepiece, physical damage bonus on the cup, and crit rate or crit damage on the headpiece. For his best in slot weapons, he'd pretty much only want weapons that are going to give him additional physical damage bonus, or passive that deal extra bouts of damage that happen to be physical. For 5-star weapons, Skyward Pride is a really solid option. It gives a high base attack, has a passive that gives some energy recharge to help achieve his burst easier, and a passive that can increase all damage by a small amount while also dealing several additional hits of physical damage after using an elemental burst. Again, following Eula, Song of Broken Pines is an amazing option for him, giving him a really high base attack, a bit of physical damage bonus as well, and a passive that increases attack and attack speed. For best in slot 4 stars, Inazuma's forgeable weapon, Katsura Gakiri Nagamasa, is pretty decent. It gives an ER substat while minimally increasing his skill damage and replenishing his energy. Prototype Archaic is an okay option with its passive dealing a pretty big instance of physical damage in a small AoE. But this can only happen every 15 seconds. Rain Slasher is another okay option, as its substat of EM is pretty much useless, but its passive can be quite good at increasing damage since Hydro and Electro is needed for the Frozen, Shatter, and Superconduct reactions. Snowtomb Star Silver is great, as it has a passive that gives physical damage bonus and deals an extra hit of physical damage that gets stronger when the opponent being affected is hit by cryo. which Freminet has no problem keeping up. Freminet also has some decent 3-star options as well. Debate Club can deal pretty frequent hits of physical damage when normal or charge attacks hit after using an elemental skill, and Skyrider Greatsword gives a massive amount of physical damage bonus while increasing attack by a pretty big amount in its passive. For team synergy, we're mainly going to be looking to Hydro, Electro, and other cryo units in the game. Xingqiu and Yelan are no-brainers as their coordinated Hydro attacks help initiate Frozen and Shatter. Candace could potentially work as well, although to be fair, we have to see how that works with his normal attacks, wanting to be physical, and if Candace's Hydro Infusion messes that up. Fischl and Beto can both work really well as Electro applicators and sub-DPSs for single target and AoE situations respectively. Lisa can also potentially be used as a burst support since one of her passives allow for her to reduce enemies' defense by 15% for 10 seconds after getting hit by her burst. And of course, Yai, Miko, or Raiden can be run with him, somewhat as a secondary DPS, although the timing of that will have to be worked out upon release. Diona would be a great source of energy to get his burst up trigger, as well as providing strong defensive utility. Layla can also serve as the same role as Diona, but also giving a nice offensive boosting option with the tenacity of the Millilith 4-piece set. And with how much Freminet should be activating a skill, Night Stars will be produced really easily. Rosaria would also provide a good energy, damage, and some additional crit rate for him, being a very well-balanced option. Freminet actually can also take advantage of Shenhe's kit really well, since that she shreds not only cryo, but also physical resistance. The person that Freminet would probably have the best synergy with is Mika. Mika was a physical support intended for Eula, but due to a fraction difference in time, it was really difficult for her to be able to make use of his kit and his benefits. Both Freminet, his skill and rotation falls under Mika's buffing duration, so this means perfect timing for Freminet to take advantage of. It kind of makes me wonder if Mika was actually meant for Freminet instead of Eula. So yeah, this was Freminet's pre-release analysis. The physical side of Genshin has been waiting for some sort of buff or augmentation to it, so seeing that this might actually come to fruition is actually really exciting. And with that, you already know what button to press if you want to see more on a regular basis, and if you have something to say, I can only hope that it's nice. Thank you, bye!